Welcome to another designing episode for another era of my Persona project series. Today we're going to be doing Parker's era. This era is going to be full of metahumans, whether that be people with animal features, people with mythical features such as fairy wings, superpowered people such as being able to shoot fire out of your hands. Lots of variety of characters we're going to make for this era. It's going to be very fun and kind of whimsical. So let's get started right off the bat with designing my brother. Now, my brother was definitely going through a little bit of an emo phase during this era. He was notorious for dyeing his hair like every other color every other day. Like, he had so many different hair colors, it was actually pretty hard to pinpoint a single color to describe him as, but honestly, I just kind of went with the same logic that I went with for all the rest of my eras. I decided to base my brother's color palette off of his room color at the time. Painted his room this very, very vibrant aqua and went for like a space theme in there. Now I've decided that yes, he's gonna have these aqua highlights. It's gonna be awesome. He was just like that classic emo preteen. I don't know what else to tell you guys. He loved to wear flannel and ripped jeans and Converse. He loves wearing boots and beanies and gloves, all of that stuff. So my brother's gonna be going by Aura in this era, no longer gonna be Blue Jay. We now have evolved from Rocky to Blue Jay to Aura now. I initially designed his design with him on a call at one point, so this is kind of a redraw of his design, and I decided to add a couple more features. Like, I wanted to add on the gloves. Now there's like this really adorable little detail of the paw print being on the inside of the glove, and I love that. Yeah, of course, with like the t-shirt design, he was obsessed with a lot of different quote-unquote emo bands. He loved Panic at the Disco, he loved Fall Out Boy, and he was just so obsessed with those things, but I couldn't really like steal their logo or anything because that's very copyrighted. So I decided to go for like this kind of edgy, like broken heart paw print, where it's like, yeah, there's like a broken heart, but it's also a paw print, because my brother was actually, during this era, he was the one to take the leap into becoming an artist and was mostly a furry animator on the internet, long before I was, actually. Yeah, he gets the credit. He was cooler first. He did it first, then he dragged me into it, and then I'm the one that ended up making it into a career. Isn't it funny how life works? I decided to give him the ability to have blue fire, because Parker has the ability to have regular red-orange fire. So I wanted Aura to be kind of an opposite to Parker, because this is kind of the era where we start to branch off and we're not so similar anymore, and I really wanted to emphasize that in design. If you compare Aura and Parker, it is literally opposites on a lot of different spectrums. As far as color palettes go, it's literally red to blue. As far as like our clothing styles go, Aura's very loud and proud, Parker's very, I'm gonna cover up everything, don't look at me, and Aura puts a lot of effort into his appearance, like dyeing his hair, making sure he's coordinated in his outfits, and Parker is very much not. So this is the part where we start to grow different, but that's not a bad thing. We don't grow apart because of it. I think it made us stronger, and this is how the final design turned out. I say final, but none of these designs are final. These are just kind of the first drafts of everything to see what concepts I come up with and how they're gonna change before the eras start to come out. The second person in this era is going to be one of the most important people in my entire life. This person will be introduced in Blackbird's era. Right now, you might know them as Bluebird. Bluebird is Blackbird's best friend that they met in 7th grade, and we carried on with our friendship pretty much all the way through high school as well. So now that person's gonna be known as Zane. It's gonna be pretty important to note that because when I was in Parker's era, I pretty much identified as male or was very masculine at the time, I'm going to have to gender bend a lot of these people in my life because the narrative will not make very much sense otherwise. To say the least, Zane is going to be Parker's romantic interest. And the reason why this is so important that they are both gender bent is because a lot of the struggles of our relationship was the fact that we were gay. More so that I was gay and the other person was in denial. So for Zane, I'm basing a lot of these characters off of characters that these people have created at the time, if they are those types of people. And my best friend in life, of course, my soulmate, literally, of course, she made like the best characters ever. I was always so mad about it, but I decided to name her after her main character, Zane, who was this kind of dog person, and he had these big shark teeth, and he had this big attitude. So I had to keep the blue, no matter what. This person always had like a streak of their hair dyed a different color, and this was kind of the Bluebird era where Bluebird actually had blue in her hair. When I first met her, she actually had red in her hair, but she did kind of 180 in personality as well, honestly, when high school hit. So the going from red to blue is like kind of a major theme in Parker's character design as far as everybody in the eras go. Because you're gonna see a lot of flip-flopping and color palettes and things because people just drastically changed in my life at that time. But Zane always wore like these big puffy, like adorable pastel kind of tops and had like more of a darker vibe when it came to like skirts or shorts or whatever. So I love the contrast of Zane's color palette being like super dark and super light at the same time. And then last second, I went back and just made one of the ears blue because I was like, you know what, that is so much more fun than just a blue streak. I was like, wow, it's just like actually a whole other blue color of the ear, which is really fun. Overall, these characters' designs are going to change a lot because we're going through a lot of phases. We're going through high school right now. Parker's era is high school, so it's like every single year. These people are going to be completely different, but this is just kind of a rough start. This is where Zane is going to start, and we'll see how it ends up by the end of the era. On to some of my not-so-favorite members of my family that are still going to be a part of my life for a couple more eras, unfortunately. Yes, we're going to be talking about the mother. Parker was the first one who started to call people mother and father in a tone that indicated that they were not acting like mom or dad anymore, because Blackbird was very much like a mommy's girl. Blackbird was a daddy's girl. Blackbird was calling them mommy and daddy forever and ever, but Parker's the one that wakes up and realizes, no. So Parker is kind of getting the rude awakening, and that's why I've decided to call a lot of these people by their extremely formal names, because Parker started to do that and started to realize some things. As far as her freaking attitude goes, it freaking stinks. She stinks, bro. Her attitude sucks. She started going through this phase where she was like, I'm a rock star. And she just decided that she was 15 years old, she went ever the F she wanted, and she didn't have to tell anybody where the F she was. And she was a grown adult, and it was her life. And that was the way the narcissist behaved in my house. She dressed in red and black, she dressed extremely inappropriately, she got tattoos, she dyed her hair, she bought expensive stuff that we could not afford. She was living a completely off-the-wall lifestyle. I decided to give her the same ability that Parker had when it comes to a reddish-orange fire, because she has a very red motif. Yeah, that's for a reason. Red is an angry color. Red is a very fiery, a passionate color, yes, but it is also an aggression color. It is an evil color. Most of the time people associate these things with red, and I do too, when it comes to mother. But when Parker is wearing red, that's a whole other story. That's a whole bright, happy red. That's a peaceful red to me. It's very interesting. Like I said, these two colors are going to be so important in this era. And that's her. That's the birther. Unfortunately, she's still a part of this equation for a while longer. Buckle up! I wish the narrative was different, but that's just how my life went. Some fun features of living with my mother, who was going through this god-awful, horrible phase, was that she went through like dozens of boyfriends who she would periodically bring into the house and then promptly kick out. However, there was one that stuck around, who I loathe and despise so much I just decided to not even give this guy a name. I don't even want to give him the pleasure. I don't like this guy at all. This is my mom's zombie boyfriend. And yes, that is exactly what Parker would say. The full government name is mom's zombie boyfriend. It's when I'm texting Zane, ugh, my mom's zombie boyfriend did this thing. Like, that's exactly what was going on. Oh my god, this guy was a zombie, for real. His only personality trait was that he would steal food from us, steal money from us, and sit on the couch and rot. And that is all this thing ever did in our home. So I started out trying to make him look extremely zombie-like, but then honestly, I kind of was like, this guy's gonna look extremely different from every other person this whole era. Nobody has this bold of a palette, so I had to tone it down a little bit. So now he's kind of got like these Minecraft zombie patches. I really wanted to play into the fact that he's literally a bum. He has holes in his shoes. Like, this guy was just such a low life, couch surfing for like 5 or 6 years before he had met Mother, and then decided that he was gonna crash at our place permanently. God, what a piece of work. And wait, to get into this can of worms. Every can of worms my mother brings home, good Lord have mercy. I think out of all of them, this zombie takes the cake, man. Now, this is a bit of a sadder design, because we're watching the decline of my father, which is not really something I'm excited about. It's actually ripping my heart out, like legit. It's really rough that I've had to design 3 different versions of a person and watch that person shape and basically deform and melt into something awful. He started out as this really happy, really amazing, do everything for everybody, strong, my hero, my dad. He was my world growing up. And then he just kept devolving, and he kept dulling, and he kept falling apart. And this is unfortunately the big arc in which he really, really falls apart. And it is going to be very hard for me to do. This design is the closest thing I have to what he looked like in those memories I have. This is the last memories I have of this person. It sucks that he wore socks and sandals. I hate that for him. I hate that for me too. It's embarrassing. I have to draw that forever now. That's so dumb. But I could not draw him without his favorite thing in the whole wide world, his stupid bottle. Because he said it to my face that that's what he wanted most in life, not his kids. So unfortunately, this is the downfall of this person. And I kept the blue motif. He's had blue in his palette for a while, but I really wanted to contrast with the other 2 blues in my life. Zane and Aura, my brother and my best friend, also have blue color palettes, but they're a completely different type of blue than this type of blue. And I find that so important, that there's all these double meanings in absolutely every little aspect of these designs. As for my father's superpowers, I went ahead and gave him some water abilities. This is like water breathing, being able to manipulate water, change the temperature of water, like boiling to freezing, that sort of thing. Because I find his personality to be that way consistently throughout all the eras. And also, I just wanted to make sure that he seemed like he was in a completely polar opposite state to the rest of us. From my mother, my brother, and I. Because he's always been the most different out of all of us, so I figured that this would be a really unique way to show, hey, you just have a different power set than us, and he can breathe water and we can breathe fire. We're just that different. I couldn't make a persona for him. There wasn't really a mask for him to hide behind at this point. So this is it. That's just reality. A very important, wonderful person will enter my life in this era. However, it's not all doom and gloom. This person was probably the most impactful person in my life at this point in time. Probably the only positive force I had probably ever experienced in parenthood outside of Jim, who sadly at this point had passed away. This person will become my stepmother. I will be calling her as such, because yes, she earned that right. She was the first person in my life to come out for me. She was the one who was like, hey, I think you're in love with Zane. And I was like, you're crazy. And then I was like, uh-oh, she's right. So she was one of the only accepting people in my life. She was the only queer person in my life. She was bisexual. I had never in my life come in contact with a queer person because of my family being so nitpicky and gatekeeping about who I was with. But no, this person was the only person I really had who was truly openly gay around me and would have really healthy discussions about it with me. She was an artist, and we would sit there for hours. She would make necklaces and different like art pieces out of cogs and gears. She was really into steampunk, and she would upcycle a lot of my dad's old electrician stuff. So we'd sit there for hours making necklaces and things, and she would just sit there and tell me about everything that she went through in her life, and she was a pretty traumatized person too. I felt so seen by her. I felt like she like trusted me and I trusted her. She was the only adult I really had in my life at the time. So I decided to give her these big fairy wings, because she was such a fairy girly. She loved butterflies, she loved fairies, she loved all the girly stuff, mermaids, all that great stuff. She was like the sweetest, down-to-earth, southern cutie I've ever met, and I wish that she would have stayed that way. It's really gonna break my heart when I have to watch her fall apart too. It's honestly a shame that pretty much absolutely every adult in this series you're gonna have to watch fall apart with me. It really sucks, but you know what? I'm gonna take what I can get, and I'm gonna say for what it was worth at that time period, this person was a great impact on Parker. So I made her completely different in the color palettes. She's pink, she's purple, she's all these different colors I've never had in this palette before. All the blues and all the reds. She is the middle ground. She's the purples, she's the pinks. And that's where I went with this design, and I added a little cog in her hair for one of her clips that she made, and her abilities are fairy powers. She's got magical powers, just like a fairy. She can fly, she can spread her fairy dust, she sparkles. And that's gonna be my stepmother. This is a character I don't really talk about much, so sorry if this comes across as like a gigantic shock to everybody, but I have another brother. Yeah, I do. He's my stepbrother. This is my stepbrother. He's a year older than me, and he was like a huge dork, dude. He's like the definition of nerd. He was in STEM, he was in like all of these advanced classes and stuff. He would help me pirate my childhood games onto my crappy laptop, and we'd stay up till 4 a.m. playing our childhood games. We're like, oh my god, this game sucks so bad. Like, we were having so much fun. We had a competition once where we had to make the most amount of noise, and he programmed in Minecraft a ton of redstone and doors to be slamming at an incomprehensible frequency, while me, Zane, and Aura were all blaring Nyan Cat from our iPads. And our parents were miserable. So needless to say, I have great memories with my stepbrother. He was just your average white boy though. Nothing special about his design. I gave him a jacket that's reminiscent of his favorite Minecraft block, which was the cactus. In the sense that he was actually a very gentle and sensitive boy, I gave him fairy wings as well, because I think guys can be fairies too, and I really wanted him to also have the abilities of flying and the magic and the sparkles, because man, he really knew how to fix technology in ways that I really believe was magic. And that's Kappa. I named him after a Dragon Ball Z character because we bonded a lot over dorky anime things like that, so this is my nod to that, and so that's gonna be my stepbrother in Parker's era. I'm getting real sick and tired of a lot of these people, so I'm cramming them onto the same pages because, yeah, these people also go down their flop era and never get back up. They don't have a glow up, they don't have a redemption arc, they just straight up flop and stay there, unfortunately. This is my paternal grandparents, Nanny and Papa, and once again, I found myself making them look very similar to their real life actual people, because I couldn't make personas for them. It's kind of the last time I see these people in any kind of light that is not bad. This is the downfall era, so this is like, they're all losing their colors, and they're all losing their personas, they're dropping their masks, and they're really showing who they actually are. These people are my enemies. These people hurt me. These people are bad people, and it's finally starting to show. So these designs are going to get more and more raw the more and more raw these people become. These people were so two-faced when I was growing up, and Parker's finally seeing it. Again, I went with the blues. I went with the toned down, jeweled colors. They're no longer full of life. They're not who I thought they were. They're just people. And like, yeah, that's kind of lame. That's kind of boring as far as character design goes. But to me, this has so much meaning. For them to be stripped down from being like these goofy, like bright frog characters, like these like birds with dulled wings, to like just people, is really how it felt when I was growing up around them. It really just felt like a decline. My papa shirt's no longer tucked into a belt. He doesn't care about his appearance anymore. My grandmother still has those like rosy cheeks, but they're not rosy anymore. She's not kind. I gave her the powers of water as well. My dad had to get them from somewhere, of course. But I decided to give my papa like these electric powers because I was like, you know what'd be cool? He started the electric company because he had these superpowers, right? So I thought that'd be kind of fun to incorporate some different power sets and things like that. And of course, I drew their annoying little dog, Zippy. That dog, I have so many stories to share, but I'll let Parker tell you guys about it because, oh yikes, it does not end well, unfortunately. Don't get attached to animals in this era, that's all I have to say. With as much forewarning as humanly possible, pay attention to the content warnings, oh my god. But anyway, Zippy was a strange little dog that was literally anything but a dog. That dog was like a person pretending to be a dog, I swear. She was so weird and silly, she was a little schnauzer. But this is my grandparents. The next era that you see them, they're gonna start to look more villainous. They're not gonna look so human after this. A lot of these people won't look so human after this. But diverting away from the villainy, I want to go to the side of good. My Mimi and Popp, who were previously extremely absent in my life. I don't know why I said previously. That's actually, no, they're still extremely they become even more absent actually. I don't know where I was going with that. They become more absent, but for a good reason. They finally decide to retire. They finally decide to slow down. My Mimi had an incident where she couldn't remember where she was one day, and they had to make a very critical decision of moving into one of another family member's home. I didn't design other family members yet because I honestly need time to process it, because there are some people that I hate so much I don't even want to draw a face for them at this point. I don't even want to put the care and love into putting a design in for them. There are just some people in my life who are so evil that I remove their eyes, I obscure their details. If I put details into these characters, it's because I loved them. Because loving is a lot harder than hating. It takes a lot of guts to love someone. It's so easy to just hate someone and walk away. But that's why these characters are so complex. They're real people. For these two, I went all out. I made my papa into a wolf person. I very much found him wolf-like, especially because they had a lot of statues in their house when I was growing up of wolves specifically, and I really thought that resonated with him. Then my Mimi, I just kept her design who she was towards the end, because unfortunately she will be sadly passing on quite soon. They end up moving up north. They go to South Carolina with the rest of my family, and I only see them 2 more times. And that's it. The last few times I interacted with them, they were wonderful, and I'll never forget them. As absent as they were, the times that they were there, they weren't harmful. They were actually some of the least harmful people in my life. Well, was it because they weren't there? Maybe. But I still have to give them some credit that I have mostly positive memories with them, and that is a rarity for pretty much any adult in my life. So therefore, I really wanted to treasure their designs. So they have a lot of happy reds in their palettes, rosy pinks, lots of smiles, because that's how I remember them in their final days. And I gave my Mimi some green fire, because she was one fiery Taurus, and that's all I can think of for her that would just really suit her extremely well. And my fire powers descend from her absolutely. I love being connected to her in that way, in the sense that Parker has fire powers, my Mimi has fire powers. These are the designs for my grandparents. The final designs for my maternal grandparents. They were pretty awesome people, all things considered, and I do miss them. Okay, it's high school. You know what that means. We're gonna start delving into lots and lots and lots and lots of my friendships. Because my goodness, do I have some stories to tell. But am I ever excited to talk about this person? This person will become my best friend for life. It's so funny. The person that I drew in the beginning of this video, Zane, is my soulmate, don't get me wrong. I will stand by that for the rest of my life. I loved that person more than life itself. However, this person, King, now, they take the cake. When it comes to just the most amazing best friendship, completely platonic, practically my sibling in arms, literally would die for this person. That's who King is to me. So I actually met King when I went to a different high school for 1 year. I switched schools for a year to try something new. I did make some great friends while I was there, and one of those people was King. The reason why I called him that is because I called them the Pun King. They went around telling the silliest puns, saying the silliest jokes. We did a whole class project once where we literally taped a shopping list to a string and put a ghost on the back. It was a whole SpongeBob reference, and we actually got a pretty good grade for it. We whipped that project up in like 5 minutes. It was awesome. I have a lot of fun memories with this person, and for all intents and purposes, I decided to make them a shark, because that was their favorite animal at the time. And I remember we had like a trio of friends, and we all were obsessed with sharks for like no apparent reason. It was like our gimmick. We'd like walk up to each other and go, "Shark!" And like, I don't know why, that was like our thing. I got to sneak out sometimes and go to band class with this person, so I obviously had to include that in their shirt design, but I gave them lots of fun shark stripes, shark attributes, sharky teeth, because I don't know if I've ever seen that person sad at school. They're just so busy all the time. They had so much to do. They were always running back and forth being like, "I gotta get things ready for the campaign," and I'm like, "What's a campaign? What are you talking about?" Little did I know it was D&D. Such a busy, such a fun, crazy person. Can't wait to introduce King to you guys. This is gonna be their design. And the other compatriot to King, King's partner in crime, is going to be somebody who I'm just straight up gonna call Shark, because I genuinely just called him Shark like my whole high school career. Like, this guy was just called Shark, and he was just such a chillaxed, quiet, shy little guy. I definitely wanted to give him shark attributes as well. I made his hoodie kind of have like a little fin on the back instead of like an actual hood. And he always had like big sleeves covering the hands. Just very relaxed, chill person. He was just such a timid person, honestly, in comparison to me and King being crazy at times. We were like such dorks about literature and such dorks about writing characters and stories and things. We go over the top in our conversations. The poor Shark be shrieking in his seat like, "Oh god, what are they on about?" Parker and King needed a shark, honestly, because the shark was the counterbalance to keep us all grounded and not going completely off the walls crazy with all of our insane ideas. But a very simple design for Shark. Just very, very casual, very modest. Love this guy to this day. I love my high school friends. These were the only 2 friends I made during that 1 year of high school I spent there, and I'm so glad that I walked away with them, because I still have them as friends today, and that's literally such a rarity. Transitioning back to my other school that I spent 3 years at. So my high school was all over the place. I spent my sophomore year at a different school, but all the other years I was at the same one, which resulted in quite a lot of drama, unfortunately. People were very not great at the school that I went to. The high school I went to was literally initially built to be a jail, if that gives you any indicator as to what kind of school I went to. We weren't allowed to have grass because kids were ripping it up, so we just had dirt. And it was all outdoors. Our classrooms were indoors, but the hallways were outdoors, which in Florida, you know, is just so wonderful. Your lockers were either on fire or full of water, no in between. Very dumb, stupid dumb design, stupid dumb school, bars on the windows. I hated that place, dude. On this page, I included 2 different characters because they were in the same class. We shared an art class together. We were in an AP 3D art class, advanced placement art class, and we basically had to build portfolios throughout the year of various mediums and things like that. I had one person who sat next to me who was completely and utterly obsessed with me, and it was weird. This person would become my stalker. It was not good. In no way is this gonna be fun to talk about. But this person also wore giant red shoes that I could see around every corner they were trying to hide behind and take pictures of me. Yeah, that kind of stalker. You know, the one that's not literally good at it? So dumb. Again, I'm gender bending everybody for the purpose of it making more sense in the sense that Parker's a boy. So now everybody in this is going to be completely different than what they actually were. This is a huge gender questioning era, actually. Parker's the only one that identifies as male out of all of them. So it's actually a really interesting thing that I'm gender bending everybody else as well, because it's just like how confusing of a time it was back then for me. It's kind of like a weird poetic thing of like, yeah, gender's confusing. Let's just bring that all across the board throughout the entirety of the motif of the designs. But yeah, I decided to name this person Gray because the aura of this person was gray to me. They were such a cardboard personality person. The only thing that they ever did with their life was go sailing, and it was just not fun. Like, they just didn't have any fun attributes. They, like, had no personality, they had no interests, they had no talents, they were just there to exist. So I see them as a very gray person. I decked them out in gray, gave them kind of boring traits because they're just a boring person. I gave them water powers because they were the polar opposite of me, who was like a fiery, passionate individual who wanted to do art. This person just wanted to do art so they could sit close to me. Yeah, I took the advanced placement course of art to sit next to me. Good idea for somebody who has absolutely no personality or creativity. But the next person who sat next to me was kind of my little, like, first crush thing. Like, I was like, dang, honestly, oh my god, I'm so gay. This person was low-key my gay awakening. Oh my god, she was so freaking cool, dude. I still look back and I'm like, how do you be so cool? I want to be as cool as Heart, dude. And that's why I decided to name him Heart, because he's going to be known as a he, because I'm gender bending things, because Parker, I hope we get it by this point. I'm sorry if this is confusing. But I named Heart because we did a big project, and one of their main projects was literally making an anatomically accurate heart to put in the center of this book. And it was so cool. Thought Heart was so freaking cool because they took like a buzzsaw into school and they like carved out this book, and it was just like, I was like, whoa, you're so cool. And they had this amazing like cotton candy hair. They always had their hair dyed, and they like had all these piercings. They dressed super loose and open and baggy. They were like that classic lesbian, dude. I gave them this like power of kind of having like impish abilities where they have imp wings and horns and a tail and like pink fire. They've got like this whole magical aspect to them, because to me, they were magical. They were queer, and they were allowed to be queer, and they were loud about being queer. And like, the funniest story is that this person was obviously crushing on me, and I was like, haha, I am not picking up on these cues. So it's a really funny dynamic, and that's why I also made this person purple, because this is a really interesting new territory. I made a lot of the extremely queer characters purple in this era because of the red and blue motifs. All of these things are going to tie themselves together in the story itself, and that is what character design does! Look at these two. They're polar opposites in all ways, and they both teach me very different lessons in life. A couple more of my friends in high school. I didn't have very many that I wanted to make like solid designs for, because, you know, basically if I'm making a design for them, they're reoccurring characters. I have a couple of like one-off characters that'll be here and there, but these characters are either very important or come up a lot. This is going to be Dawn and Tex. They were a sibling duo. They were kind of popular in this sense. They were like the classic like super smart kids. They were part of the robotics team. I got a part of the robotics team because of it, because of my artistic skills and my ability to handle a jigsaw extremely well, apparently. I was mostly friends with Dawn. We would hang out at lunch every day and play DSs and share food and stories, and Dawn was actually one of the first people who got to see PetPyves be born, actually, because Parker, at the very, very, very tail end of Parker's journey, is when PetPyves started. So it's actually really cool that some of these people like were there for the first moments. Like, wow, it's crazy drawing them now. But Dawn always wore like big winter jackets. I think it was really funny. It was such an interesting character trait to have in Florida of all places, considering how hot it was. But I always saw these two as very bright yellows, a color that did not exist in my palette previously, because they had like a real family. They had real stability. Their needs were being met. The school was like, these are gifted kids, get them in advanced placement classes. And these kids were actually like pursuing every dream I've ever had because they had the proper care, because somebody listened to them. And they passed on a lot of their wisdom to me. They really shared a lot with me, and they really helped me feel seen. Tex was in a couple of my different classes. We were actually in the same grade. Dawn was a couple years behind me, but Either way, I still hung out with both of them, and I still cherish them both so much. I really hope they're doing well nowadays. I hope their dog Furball is doing well, because they had an adorable dog named Furball. I gave Dawn some fire powers because, yeah, we bonded super well. We were like two peas in a pod, and I was like, man, we're like not fire and gasoline, we're just fire and fire. We're just two different fires. And then for Tux, I gave him some of the electric powers because of all the robotics and stuff. I thought that'd be super fitting. But yeah, I love these designs. They're bunny siblings. They got like fluffy little tails. They got the long ears. They got the energy. Love them. I hope they're doing well. Alright, like I said, this is the arc where all the villains come out, man. This one is just straight up a villain. There's no build up, there's no downfall. This guy is just straight up evil. This is an evil teacher I had when I went to school at this really crappy school. I'm gonna call him Mr. Manta. He's a stingray, but I'm gonna call him Mr. Manta anyways. Because God, he did not make any sense. Alright? This was a zoology teacher, and he didn't teach me a single thing about zoology other than I hate him. He didn't know what he was talking about. So, like, I thought it was really funny that I'm gonna make this zoology teacher be like, call me Mr. Manta. And it's like, sir, you're a stingray? And he's like, whatever. Like, that's literally the attitude this man had. He was terrible. He was not a teacher. He was just a creep in disguise, and that is where I'm gonna leave that. Because I want Parker to tell this story. Let's just say, revenge is sweet. And karma's a bitch. That's all I'm gonna say about this character. I just wanted to show off his design early on. There he is. Keep your eyes out when you see him. Know that he's evil and he's going down. The last person from my high school who I decided to give a design for was a really special case, I feel. Because this is a person who had like, again, another giant crush on me in a very unhealthy way. And decided to pursue those things in very not fun ways. Whatever, high school. Why was that okay? I don't know. But this person was one of the only other autistic people I had ever interacted with in regular classes. And we bonded a lot over that. We bonded a lot over being able to just exist near each other without having to put up with all the other stupid neurotypical things we'd have to mask and pretend that we were good at. So this person naturally developed feelings for me. I was Parker, and it made me really uncomfortable because at that point I was pretty much already guessing I was Ace. I was like, I don't feel that way about anybody. But no matter how many times I told this person, they were still very persistent. It didn't end very well. That's where I'm gonna leave that. Nevertheless, I still don't wish anything bad upon them. I know in the end of the day, they were just really happy to be accepted and really just wanted to be loved and continue to love me as well. I know their intentions were good and pure. However, the things that they tried to do were not. So it's a very iffy territory. So I decided to include both reds and blues in there, as well as some greens. Just like a completely other kind of different color, because this is a whole other experience within itself as well. And I decided to make them a cute little dog, because honestly, they were just such a loyal and kind person. I still feel no ill feelings towards this person, no matter how badly things ended up. They just did not really understand boundaries. That's kind of just high school. People are messy. People don't understand things. I just really hope that they learned from that experience and did better in the future. But yeah, I decided to call them Zoe. It's just literally a random name from an anime that we bond over. Not even the actual anime, it's just adjacent to the name from an anime. It's very far out there. Yeah, lots of these people bond over anime, as you can see. Yeah, what a crowd to be in. What a great crowd to be in. That sure drew in a lot of great people. Yay! The last person I'm gonna talk about for this era is going to be, finally, some of my online friends. We're finally delving into the world where Parker was given internet access. Hooray! Parker got his hands on an iPad for Christmas. It was kind of one of the last things Jim was able to give to Blackbird. And Blackbird had pretty much been using it to like watch TV shows and stuff and play like apps and stuff. But Parker was like, hey, this is an art utensil, and started to learn to do digital art and started to connect with people online. Some of the very first people I met when I started my YouTube channel were really, really important and pivotal to my channel's upbringing and survival. There's one person in particular I still cherish to this day, and I really hope they're doing well. I think that they're one of those people where you have such a strong friendship, and then you just kind of grow up. and we just kind of grew apart. They were going through a lot of stuff at that time. I know we would vent back and forth to each other a lot, and we were kind of all we had for each other. We'd get on voice calls, text back and forth, we'd make vent AMVs, and we'd only share it with each other just to get stuff off of our chests. Like, we were very much like sadly, like a trauma-bonded friendship. It really helped both of us get through some tough times, but looking back, it's like, gosh, I just really hope this person is okay nowadays, and I really hope that they can look back on me with the same kind of love that I look back on them, because I'm like, man, they were such a wonderful person, and I still think very highly of them, no matter what might have happened in our past, no matter how we might have just drifted apart. Like, I still think of this person and hope the best for them. So I made them this cute little mouse because they were a very shy, quiet person at the beginning, and I think it was really fun that I got to see this person kind of grow into their more fun, kind of loud side, and that was really cool watching us kind of grow up together in this high school setting. And like, we were both in high school, we were both making cartoons online and having fun making characters and stories, and this is one of my very first friends who ever did that, and decided to name them Bo because one of the very last messages I sent to them, I actually booted up my old iPad the other day and found the old messages. It was actually an email I sent. One of the very last emails I ever sent to this person, one of the last words I ever said to them, is that you have a beautiful soul. So now all I can think about is the word beautiful when I think of this person. So, Bo, wherever you are, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you still make stories and characters, and I hope that you've healed from your past too. And those are some of my first concepts for Parker's era. They're not entirely final or anything, these are just to get my thoughts out into the world and kind of get the ball rolling when it comes to designs, because they can take a while and they will change over time, of course, especially with animation. But if you have any suggestions, if you have any favorites, I love reading your comments, I'd love to hear some feedback. Feel free, I love to have discussions here. I hope you've enjoyed seeing kind of the insight in the process of how these characters are created, all the different motifs, all the different thought patterns, all the little tiny details of the whys and hows of these people kind of coming into this era, or how they changed from one era to the next and why. I hope that you find it interesting, and I hope it inspires you. And I hope you're looking forward to meeting Parker someday soon as Persona Project continues. And I appreciate your patience as the project continues as quickly as I can, but as safely as I can as well. Thank you guys so much for the ongoing support, and I'll see you in the next video.